Our goal is to make a good deal for the community, and if it can't be done, it's not going to happen. It's many, many technical pieces. I believe Brian highlighted that if and when there is an alienation of Robert Moses Park, there must be a ULURP process that goes through the city council, and that many of you here who are land use experts understand that process. So we're not skipping the city process. Second, we're talking about multiple projects that can take multiple years. Hopefully not, as Brian just closed with, not going into the 2020 decade too long, but not happening overnight. So a very serious consideration for your electeds when we have been walking through this is, well, what happens if there's not a man named Bloomberg who's the mayor after the next election, which technically should absolutely have to be a fact, just for the record. Although we thought that once before, no comment, but technically there will be a different mayor. And there could be a different assembly member, a different council member, a different senator, a different congressperson, a different borough president. How do we make sure that the complexities of this deal are strong and solid to move forward with decision making that would need to take place very likely after some or all of us who tried to work this deal out the best way we could originally weren't literally in their seats as elected officials. So we thought through very hard how we secure that, including how we secured that the money would really be there for the projects that had been agreed to be done. Because again, we're cynical people at the same time as we're trying to make sure that we're doing, if a deal gets done, one that guarantees this community that it's a rock solid deal that goes forward in time to assure not only that the projects get completed, but that the money's there. So we are working very hard on establishing the criteria that would go into a memorandum of understanding to establish two different associated things. One being the East Side Greenway and Parkland Board, or the East Side Gap Board, or the EGAP Board, and the East Side EGAP, East Side, sorry. We worked really hard on these names. We had a lot of trouble. I'm giving Brian the credit for actually simplifying it. It was much worse before. Or the East Side Greenway and Parkland Fund, also known as the East Side Gap Fund, or EGAP Fund. So that the money, I know, just say it 5 times fast. So that the monies as they come in, and as Brian's so detailed out for you, the monies come in at different points in time with different transactions having taken place, and they go out as different times as steps A, B, C, D over time of the projects get completed, that there is a guaranteed, so to speak, lockbox for the funds where they again are earning interest. And so when we talked about 190 million to 220 million, that was in 2010 dollars, and so there would be an inflation adjustment for that, so that again, when we're trying to predict what a specific part of the project costs, if it gets done tomorrow, it might be in 2010 dollars, but if it gets done in 2018, it needs to be in 2018 dollars, so that this fund would be there, and it would be established within the MOU that specific inflation adjustments were guaranteed in for these monies, so that they would actually be there to pay for the projects, and they would be there at quote-unquote then today's value. The EGAP board, I guess EGAP board works best for me. Okay. The EGAP board would be comprised of 6 appointments from the mayor and 5 appointments from local elected officials, so that there would be community representation for community interests on all future decisions that took place, both on designs of the projects, changes in the projects, money estimates. I will tell you, having just tried to outline this possible MOU for the last several months, the complexities are enormous, and you need to make sure that you have people there who are overseeing, who can make decisions, and who can deal with changed circumstances. So, in addition to it being an 11-person board, there will be specific votes of the board that would require the community representatives to have the ability to override the mayoral representative, even though there's 6 mayoral and 5 community representatives. For example, if the community decides at some point in time to change the list of projects that are to be completed with this money, let's say today in 2011 we go forward thinking the ODR northern section of the Esplanade, the central UN section of the Esplanade, and the Con Ed Pier southern end of the Esplanade as we're defining it for this purpose, sort of the 60th down to 38th Street area. So we think we're getting to the last section of the Esplanade, perhaps not until 2022. I'll just pick that number. But it's 2020, and Dan Garodnick wins the lottery. And he wants, see, don't laugh, and he wants to take his winnings and use that for the UN Esplanade. I've heard he wants it called the Dan Garodnick Esplanade, but he's prepared. Oh, he also wants a statue, I'm sorry, on the Dan Garodnick Esplanade. But he decides to take his lottery winnings, and he wants to pay for that section. And the community goes, yes, thank you so much, Dan Garodnick. We're so glad you were a gambler and you won, and you want to, be generous to the community that you love. Well, we wouldn't want to be trapped having no ability to change a use of remaining monies, because if the Dan Garodnick Lottery Philanthropy wants to build a section of the Esplanade, I can guarantee you this community can come up with other important uses of that money for improved open space and access. So we want to make sure we are thinking through into the future. Suppose at some point in time we discover we thought this would work, but we need to redesign it, or we need to find an alternative. We also want to make sure this board are the active participants, and they would be representatives of your electeds, whoever they were at that moment in history. So we wanted to make sure that your community elected officials could be right there at the table and say, in 2010, we thought this was absolutely the priority plan by the community for new money for expanding open space in the Greenway. But something else changes. Some part of the plan we discover can't be completed as we hoped. We want the community, through the EGAP board, to have the ability to be dynamic and to make changes rather than writing something into stone and we might all be gone and not be able to go forward. So we have the board, the governance board, we have the fund to guarantee the use of the money. And again, because I'm going to stop soon, the goal here is for you to understand, when you are feeding information into us, that at its simplest, this is a question for the community of, if there's a possibility of a sum of money equivalent to $190 to $220 $20 million in today's $2010, should we take that opportunity to do A, B, C, D, E, F in expanding the Greenway and opening up additional active park space in our community, or should we not?